What's up, people? You're listening and watching the RAPS Talk podcast presented by HipHoopJunkies.com and HoopHeadsNorth.com and our sponsors, FanEssentials.net. This is episode 93, Hoops Talk out of Halifax. My name is Romy Aquino. I have with me
Jean-Francois.
And
Yui, I am not Coach Spo Sampang.
Coach, comments from the last podcast saying Yui look-alike to Coach Spoelstra. I can confer with that you do look like Coach Spoelstra. Big win tonight, 99-91 win for the Raptors. A great bounce-back game. A great bounce-back game for DeMar DeRozan. Got all the ridicule in that last game and his poor shooting and his thumb. And Twitter was going nuts on him, saying like everybody was pretty much hating on DeMar, saying he's not a max player. He came back tonight, even with the thumb injury, 34 points in 34 minutes. First thoughts, on this game as a whole, from DeMar to Kyle Lowry and Bismack Biyombo.
I like the fact they won, but man, can we please close some quarters? I didn't even want to go there to start, really, but that's driving me bananas. You were up 20 points, and then a 20-point lead turned into a 10-point lead. Then in the third quarter, 10-point lead turned into like 6, 7 points. Credit the Raptors. They held on. And unfortunately, Carroll left the game as well, which we'll get into. So I'm just happy they won. But, it's unbelievable to me. They're not even playing anywhere near their best basketball, and they're still finding ways to win. It's unbelievable. It's not even near the same team as the regular season. And yeah, we talked about this before. The regular season and the playoffs are different, but we're not seeing that. The problem is we're not seeing that from these other teams in the playoffs. All the other teams in the playoffs are playing like they have in the regular season, whether they win or lose. Overall, they're playing like they played in the regular season. So I don't buy this garbage of, oh, well, it's a different season and blah, 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 blah. For a little bit, I was buying into that. But I can't buy into that anymore, man. I just can't. The Raptors just aren't playing the basketball we're used to seeing them play. Once they do, a whole different set of things could happen. But to me, it's amazing that they're winning despite their struggle.
I agree, man. That's to say, from what you said, they're still up 3-2 in the series, which I can't believe.
But no, that first half though, there was stretches.
The first half was amazing.
Yeah, those stretches where you see what they're capable of, and then they pee it away at the end of the second quarter. Yep. And that's what I liked about Bismack's halftime interview. He was truly. As polite a guy as he is, you could tell he wanted to swear and curse that they just let that lead go for the last 5 minutes. The beginning of it, he looked angry, and then he composed himself and was polite again. But yeah, it looked like he really wanted to get mad in that interview.
Oh yeah, no, he was steaming hot.
Yeah, they got the right guy for that halftime interview. Especially fresh off that finish of that quarter, he was right. They got to do better. They should have been up 20 points at the half, and they weren't. They're up 10. That's the thing, man. It was just kind of it just seems like every other Raptors game we watched in this playoffs. It was setting up for, potential failure. It was setting up for. The stage was set for Dwyane Wade just to. He could have easily. If he was locked in, he could have won that game again. But luckily the Raptors kind of held them off, and the Miami Heat, they don't really have an answer. They went small ball. They put some weird lineups out there, and nothing was working for them tonight. What did you think about Coach Spoelstra's choices for his lineup?
It was interesting what he was trying to go with. He was basically just trying to find a spark. His big guns weren't really hitting, and Luol Deng injured himself as well. So he was just trying to find a spark from anyone, and guys like Tyler Johnson and Josh Richardson had shown some real capabilities early on, so he kept those guys in there, and. And Justice Winslow as well was doing some things. So, I mean, the Raptors just aren't playing the basketball we're used to seeing them play. Once they do, a whole different thing. So he was trying to find weren't playing the way they had played to this point in the series.
Yeah, and not so much about Spoelstra's choices as Casey's choices, as opposed to Game 3 that we never had a podcast for. Was he stuck with one big man and even Pat Patterson at power forward? So the Raptors were out-rebounded overall by 5, but still it was fairly even, and they didn't give up as many offensive boards as they did in Game 3, and it just held check. Plus, I think part of the reason why the rebounding was still even or slightly in the Heat's favor was because Bismack was challenging shots at the rim, so they weren't getting easy looks down there. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I mean, Coach K out. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry, I was just saying, yeah, that was a great adjustment, recognition by Coach Casey. He should have done that in the last game, and obviously that's earned, right? So at least he recognized that and stayed the course with it this game.
Yeah, everybody grilled him for that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, and he tried Bebe Nogueira in the last game, and he didn't try that this game at all. He actually went with Jason Thompson as the backup center. So, I mean, Jason Thompson played 10 minutes, but I mean he did what he had to do. I mean, what was his line? I think he had He played 10 minutes, I believe. But I mean, his line doesn't matter. It's just the fact that he went with Thompson. I mean, as a change to what
a little bit more experience with Thompson too. You know, less
exactly.
Lights kind of thing.
Yeah, so I mean that was good. I mean, made a bit of difference tonight, and DeRozan and Lowry they combined for 59 points, the most they've totaled in any postseason or any game this postseason, and I mean it's been a while since you've seen like these two kind of like go for 20 plus, both of them at the same time. So. It was good to see that DeMar kind of bounced back. Lowry hit big shots when he normally hits big shots. So I mean, he hit some clutch shots at the end there. And then Bismack Biyombo, I mean, he's been phenomenal. And the energy he brought in that first half and that sequence with the block on Wade and the dunk, and the dunk before that, that's great. I mean, he's been awesome. I mean, especially with JV down, I mean, for him to step up. He really, he was awesome tonight. You guys thought,
especially where he hadn't played well through a stretch there in the playoffs after having a real good end to the season. It was nice to see him bounce back when it mattered most.
A couple other notes. I like the screens early and even throughout the game that Bismack and Jason Thompson were setting. And the Game 3 killed me because there was way too much ISO, step back for 5 seconds, hold, and go for one-on-one rather than just go for it. But this time there was more screen and rolls at the top where if there's even like 8 seconds left on the shot clock, set a pick and see what happens because it's going to create mismatches and make the defense have to make decisions on the defensive end. So they were doing that, and the only time that I ever want to see DeMar go one-on-one is when he has a mismatch in the post against a smaller guy, which we saw tonight, and maybe another situation where I wouldn't mind seeing it with this team is Lowry on a pick-and-roll switch versus a big. All other times, no ISO one-on-one.
Yeah.
I mean,
kills the flow, kills the offense. And, it was a great analogy that Jack Armstrong said earlier in the telecast, if you heard him. He said, why are you trying to play 6-on-5? Meaning the sixth person is the shot clock. Use the shot clock to your advantage, move the ball, get a good shot. If you're going to take a shot early in the shot clock, make sure it's a good one. Don't rush shots or wind the clock down and still only come up with like you said, Yui, an isolation jump shot, step back kind of thing, that doesn't have much of a prayer of going in. Sure, they look pretty when they go, but what's the actual percentage of those going in, right? And look how much better it was when they pushed the tempo, got out on the fast break off of defense, and took it to the rack. Oh my goodness, it's like a completely different team. They went up 20 points for crying out loud.
Yeah, no, the first quarter was phenomenal, and managing the clock. I liked that they made smart decisions. And they weren't just letting the clock run down. I know you always hear it on the telecast. I guess that's DeMar's wife that's calling out the shot clock when it winds down. But at least you weren't hearing that as much because they were getting the shots off early, making smart decisions.
Who is the one that counts it down with the high pitched voice?
It's DeMar's wife.
DeMar's wife.
Oh, sorry.
Or his fiance.
I just zoned out for a second there.
Yeah.
That's great.
I always wondered who that was, and I had to search it, and I found that out. So, it was good to see DeMar come back. Good to see Lowry come back. Game 5 is on Friday. I think it's a 9 p.m. start. Another one.
It is.
So the Raptors can close it out in Miami, and they're capable. We can talk about this quickly. Luol Deng went down for the Miami Heat, but another one is DeMar Carroll went down with looks to be a wrist injury. I don't know what the details are on it as of this moment, but hopefully we'll see him in Game 5. Do you have any updates, Sean?
Contusion was the last that I saw Raptors media relations tweet. So we'll see.
X-rays negative.
Yeah, and X-rays were negative. That's right, Yui. So we'll wait and see what the update is. Hopefully, some treatment and some rest, and he'll be fine.
Yeah, it was a little bit scary when Carroll was out, and then DeMar went out to the locker room as well. And then it was just kind of JV's out, Whiteside's out. Any word on Whiteside too, in terms of a possible return for the next game?
So essentially, what I read last was that sprained MCL obviously is the actual injury, and the long-term prognosis, it's similar to what Stephen Curry was going through, but they're still keeping him listed as day-to-day. So the real prognosis they haven't actually said. There's a little bit of gamesmanship there, by the Heat, not to try and show their hand early. But I think at this point, it's probably safe to say that we shouldn't expect to see him back this series. But the Heat certainly aren't saying that at this point.
Yeah, that makes sense though. You want to keep. If you can keep the other team guessing, and then you're going to have to make extra adjustments on. Both ways with him or without him. So, unlike JV, where they kind of just they let it know in the media that he was out for the whole series.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised by that, weren't you?
Yeah, me too. Yeah, it didn't look that as severe. So I was thinking maybe the Heat was thinking that was gamesmanship. He's going to make a Willis Reed type of comeback for home court inspiration or something. So they said, oh yeah. Yeah, Whiteside's going to be back, even though MCL, anything with a CL in it is serious.
Exactly.
They're yeah, back next game, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens in the next game on Friday. One last question: was Drake in the crowd tonight? He wasn't, right?
I didn't see him. I looked quickly next to Jack and Matt by the booth, and I didn't see him there. The last game, he was shooting a music video, so he's probably still doing some stuff, especially where his album just came out. I suspect that he's doing a lot of media around that.
No Drake this series. I haven't seen him.
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay, so stay tuned for the blogs and the podcast. Game 5 on Friday, 9 p.m. start, or 9 p.m. Atlantic. 8 p.m. Eastern. That's it for the podcast. Follow the blog, simplyhoopjunkies.com, hoopheadsnorth.com, on Twitter, @RomeoAquino, @SeanFrancois, @Yui the Jock. We out.